Last year marked the 10th birthday of EUFOREA, the European Forum for Research and Education in Allergy and Airway Disease. EUFOREA is an international non-profit organisation which brings together an alliance of stakeholders from national and international organisations, institutions and agencies working towards a singular vision of preventing and reducing the burden of respiratory diseases. EUFOREA has achieved so much in the last 10 years, putting improved patient care front and centre of its mission and vision. So, as we head into 2026, what does the new year have in store for this pivotal organisation? This is EUFOREA News, broadcasting from London. Hello and welcome to EUFOREA News. I'm Dr. David Bull. 2026 marks the beginning of a new decade for EUFOREA. This highly successful organisation has revolutionised patient care through its sheer hard work, determination and a singular mindset to reduce the prevalence and burden of chronic airway diseases. Its mission is underlined by three pillars: research, education and advocacy. It works with scientists around the world pulling together the latest data and research. It supports the medical community through its extensive educational activities based on the latest clinical evidence and research. And it works with patients and for patients by educating them about prevention, diagnosis, referral and the correct use of treatment guidelines. EUFOREA is determined to start its new decade with revised ambitions and an even more robust and challenging set of goals. And to this end, the board has been strengthened by the addition of world leaders in the fields of Rhinology, Allergy and Pulmonology. And today, it's my great privilege to introduce two of them to you. Well, without further ado, let me introduce you to Professor Klaus Rabe. He is Professor of Pulmonary Medicine at the University of Kiel. He's also Director of the Department of Pneumology at the Lung Clinic in Großhansdorf in Germany. Really good to see you once again. Let me start by asking you, why have you, as a world-leading expert in the field of COPD, decided to join the EUFOREA board?
Hi, David. Well, it's a good question. To me, it's been an easy task because I was asked whether I would consider doing this, and I've known EUFOREA for quite some years. I mean, it's more than 10 years that this organization is in place. I think if they're at my stage of the career and my age, if there's something that you can give, it's time and commitment. And I'm convinced that this is what some of us should be doing, and that's what I'm doing. And EUFOREA is something that has three pillars of things that I'm convinced of being important. It's research that I do. It's educational tasks that I believe are extremely important, and people that are coming from a specialized area of medicine or science should be taking part of it, I believe. And then there's advocacy, because that's something that I've been doing during my life as president of the European and the German chest societies. I understood the relevance of advocacy work, and this is why I thought, well, that's something worthwhile and it's something worth spending my time on, and I'm very happy that I did it.
Let me just ask you, what do you particularly like about EUFOREA? Is it the fact that actually it looks after the clinicians, it works with patients, for patients, that really in many ways it's multifactorial?
Well, David, yes, all of the above, shall I say. It's first of all, I like the European context. I do believe that this is something where I feel home. I believe that sharing within the European context knowledge, possibilities, educational information and skills is something that is highly attractive. I also like the fact that it is broad in what I'm doing. It is airway diseases, and it has, I think, the ambition to improve knowledge transfer, guidelines, documents, publications, it has a real eye and ear for patients. It's very close to patient organizations, and it is actually done by people that have patients on their agenda. And it is something which I think has developed and is, shall I say, powerful enough to have a role and to be relevant in this part of advocacy. And this is, as an answer, it's multifactorial, but these would be the main issues that were on my mind when I agreed on doing this.
As we mentioned earlier, EUFOREA is now going into its 11th year. It has achieved a huge amount in those last 10 years. What for you do you think is the most important thing that EUFOREA has actually managed to achieve in that time?
The most important thing, it's manifold. First of all, in that context of you want a charity organization to have that name and to have that penetration into societies, scientific societies, political backgrounds, I think it's an achievement in itself. Second, to stay aboard for such a long time, I think is a sign of quality and the diligence in it. And I also believe that one of the major assets is the dedication of people involved. I've done Peter Hellings for quite some time, and I can see, sort of speaking past pro toto, people that are so convinced about the mission that these organizations have, and gathering this highly dedicated staff and people on the board that are burning to do what they're doing. I think that's also part of it, which is very impressive and gives to me very good hope and conviction that these last 10 years will be followed by many more.
And now that you have joined the board, what do you think EUFOREA should now focus on over the next 5 years?
The focus has been very much on this research, education, and advocacy, as I said, which is, if you want, the DNA of this organization. It is in content very much related, as it says in the name, on Airway and Allergy. I'm coming more from chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. I'm also dealing with the older age spectrum. I'm very much interested in multimorbidity also in an aging population. So I would hope that for the next 5 years there will be more emphasis, in fact, on chronic diseases just outside the allergic rhinitis, polyposis, asthma, which are extremely important, I know. But I think I was asked to actually broaden that spectrum a little by the fact of COPD, where there's a lot of development happening in terms of new drugs and new developments for targets of this disease, but also the notion that these chronic diseases have their origin very early in life. And I think we will want to contribute more to the knowledge and the giving aid and help in drug development indirectly, if you want. And I think that should be an emphasis. I also think that is my personal remit. I would like to be seen as a person that would look at, if you want, justice in that system that tries to be aware that you get the right drugs to the right people independent from their economic background. I think organizations such as EUFOREA within the European context need to be aware that we need to be sharing, that we need to be looking at populations and parts of our European populations and outside that are in need of political advocacy support to actually make them available, the drugs that are out there and the care that is needed for them. So this sort of part of health in inequity and helping to actually raise that card, that's something that would be a little bit also on my personal agenda, if I may say.
Well, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time and best of luck. That's Professor Klaus Rabe.
Thank you very much, David.
Well, joining me now is Professor Dr. Anju Peters. She is an expert panel member and board member of EUFOREA. She is also Professor of Medicine, Allergy and Immunology and Otorhinolaryngology, head and neck surgery in Chicago in the United States. Really good to see you once again. Let me ask you the same questions I just asked Professor Rabe. I'd like to start, if I may, by just asking you, why have you, as a world-leading expert in allergology, decided to join the EUFOREA board?
You know, that's a really good question. And I think the reason I joined as an allergy expert, I get a chance when I joined EUFOREA, first as an expert, now as a board member, to collaborate with international, multidisciplinary experts. These include experts in the ENT, allergy, pulmonology, but also, partners from industry, and to also get to work with patient organizations. So it's just a great network. And I really do believe that EUFOREA is going to help shape the future of holistic airway. I think of airway as one airway, upper airway, lower airway. I think of it as one airway. And EUFOREA will get me a chance to really get beyond my borders of United States and work with the whole world.
It seems extraordinary to me that EUFOREA is 10 years old, actually. What do you particularly like about the organisation, about EUFOREA? What do you think it does particularly well?
So I think the thing that EUFOREA has done very well, it started in Europe. It started with a few people, but now they have expanded beyond just Europe to include, United States, and are now including other parts of the world. And I think what EUFOREA has done very well, it's done a great job of education. It has done a wonderful job of facilitating research and also advocacy. So the main thing it has done is to improve education, research, advocacy, all to lead to better patient care. And I really like the fact that it is now expanding globally.
I mean, that's the thing that strikes me, actually, that front and centre is the patient, that everything that EUFOREA does is all about the patient, actually. Although, as you say, you have the education, those three pillars, the fact is clinicians coming together, sharing best practice. But ultimately, it is always about the patient.
And that's what I feel, that, every part of it has led to improvement of patient care. At Northwestern, I'm a director of Center for Clinical Research for something called NewCats. This institute's goal is to really, really facilitate translational science, which is taking science from the lab to the community. And I feel EUFOREA is doing a very good job of that, including for papers that are published that are for not just experts, but for patients, general practitioners, even paramedics in the area of sinus disease, which I'm passionate about, but also in asthma, which is connected to sinus disease. And often what I do in my regular life is not just take care of patients with chronic sinusitis or rhinosinusitis, but with severe asthma, because airway, we think of it as unified or united airway or one airway.
And the sort of accolades of EUFOREA over the last 10 years are multiple. What do you think EUFOREA should now focus on as it looks to the next 5 years?
Well, I think EUFOREA has done a great job, as I mentioned, in terms of both education, advocacy, research, and really has focused on improving patient care. So I really do think that EUFOREA should continue doing what it's doing, but work to get the great job, the wonderful work it has done, focusing in Europe and somewhat in the United States. And now I know they're expanding into the other areas of the world. And I think that's really wonderful, because that will get rid of some of the disparities we see in respiratory care. And I really like the fact that EUFOREA has expanded from chronic rhinosinusitis into asthma, allergic rhinitis, and now even COPD. We really need to think of, and EUFOREA is doing it, all of us as being global members. And we do want to maintain that strong base EUFOREA has in Belgium. But I really agree with building collaboration with the rest of the world, so that we have alliances with our international societies and international patient organizations, and just working on global health initiatives to improve care of patients with respiratory diseases.
I mean, as you know, I've spoken to so many clinicians over the last few years, so many patients over the last few years as well. Do you honestly believe that EUFOREA, I mean, it has done remarkably well. Do you think it can really continue to make a profound difference to patients' lives?
Oh, I absolutely think so. For example, some of the different manuscripts that have come out of Euphoria, for example, on just indication and evaluation of biologics in chronic rhinosinusitis, these biologics have transformed, revolutionized how we take care of patients with chronic rhinosinusitis, which is a common disease. It really impacts patients' quality of life. It impacts patients' asthma. Often, one of the biggest causes of asthma exacerbations is exacerbations of sinus disease. And I do think what Euphoria has done, some of the guidelines, we definitely use them in the US. There may be little variations, but these guidelines have helped shape how we take care of our patients. And I do think that Euphoria, by not just by publishing these defining disease states, therapeutic goals in taking care of patients with respiratory disease, I think working with our industry partners, doing innovative research, helping build younger investigators with advocacy in global health, I do think Euphoria will keep doing a great job. I have no doubt about it. And especially, the leadership has been just really strong. And I'm hoping as more and more global members join, that we can do this in a global stage. And I think Euphoria will do just fine.
Well, it's so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Anju Peters.
Oh, thank you very, very much for letting me do this. I'm really excited to be joining the Euphoria board and working with the members and hopefully improving our patients' respiratory diseases.
Well, such fantastic news. Two wonderful additions in the form of world-leading experts joining the Euphoria board as the organisation embraces the next 10 years. Well, you can find more information about Euphoria and also register for the Euphoria educational events on the euphoria.org website, where you can also sign up to receive the latest news via email. We're also on social media as well, on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Spotify, Instagram and Facebook. Please do follow us. Until next time, goodbye.